The Fearless Podcast, in a time of deceit, telling the truth, is a revolutionary act. All right, y'all, welcome back to the Fearless Podcast. We are at episode 58. And today I have another exciting guest, and I want to welcome to the podcast a fellow Texan. I want to welcome Pete B. How you doing, Pete? How you doing today?
Good. Excellent. Nice to be on your show here.
So just to give you all a little bit of a backstory, our channels had probably intersected just because we're both in Texas. So we've popped up probably in each other's feeds. And so I've seen some of Pete's stuff and learned a lot of cool homesteading tips and tricks. And then Pete popped up with his carnivore success, and I was like, wow, this is great. So I watched it and I commented, and so I reached out to Pete, and Pete so graciously has taken his time to invest with us all here at the Fearless Podcast. So Pete, let's get started. Maybe you could kind of tell us a little bit of your background and give us kind of your origin story, like what drew you to homesteading, and how did that all go down?
Well, yeah, I mean, my story is a lot like other people's. I was raised in Michigan, brought up in suburbia, didn't like the winters there, so I decided to move to Florida. Moved out there for about 8 years, and then later found some work in Houston, and we were able to actually buy a house, a nice house, the American dream kind of house. We bought a nice house, big house. It had it was in a subdivision, of course, all gated. It had a pond with a nice waterfall, and it had a little walkway around the pond. I mean, it was all beautiful, real nice. Bought this place. We thought, the American dream. We had the house that we want. Everything's working out great. And then as time went on, we started realizing that this is all fake. Everything about our manicured lawns, everybody keeping up with the Joneses. I mean, if you like that, I mean, that's not a problem. But for us, that was fake. Okay. And we started looking more towards country properties. We wanted to do the homestead thing. And back then, we're talking around 2015-ish or so. A lot of these homesteading channels were popping up on YouTube. And we're like, you know what? That's what we want to do. We really want to enjoy doing that kind of lifestyle, that gardening and being more self-sufficient and all that stuff. We tried gardening in that really nice subdivision, but I had to call the HOA to see if it was okay for me to have a garden. That's how bad it was, the HOA there.
Yeah.
And I put the phone down. I'm like, did I actually just call to see if I had permission to have a garden? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was like a year or so later. I was constantly looking online for property. I finally found this place here in East Texas. It's about 3 hours or so north of Houston. And that's where everything, when it came to country living, gardening, I was about as dumb as a box of rocks. Okay. I didn't know anything. But through trial and error and blood, sweat, and tears, we started this garden. And I built a huge 100 by 200 foot fenced in garden area because we had trouble with deer, raccoons, all those wildlife animals, eating all our watermelons and, everything. So I fenced it all in, did all that work. And we had a couple good years of gardening, but just all them years, about, what did we do? About seven or 8 years of gardening. And just to find out that it was making me sick.
Yeah. It's wild. Your story is very similar to ours. like even time frame, like we were part of this original first wave tsunami that Joel Salatin talks about, this
Yeah.
homestead tsunami. We relocated almost the same time you did, and we had dabbled with small farm goats and whatnot and chickens in our backyard and all that stuff, and we had dabbled with growing a very small garden. And then once we moved and had more room, we much like you, I mean, we planted a gigantic garden. And then what we found out, since we had livestock guardian dogs, we never had issues with like predator pressure of the animal sort.
Hmm.
But the heat is really the heat is what got us, like right about when you would want to plant early enough so that you could take the opportunity of the Texas spring, but a lot of times the late frost would get you.
You know,
And yeah,
yeah, the same thing here. We would plant as early as possible. That's usually around March around here. And you might even get a frost here and there in March. Then March, you got April, you got May, and part of June. You got 3 months there of growing, which is enough. But if anything dies, you're screwed because you can't just replant, because now in June, July, you're talking about 100 degrees every single day.
yeah,
And it's too much on the plants. They just won't grow.
yeah. Yeah, and then then you're harvesting in that kind of heat usually, even if it does grow. And it was a challenge. And then trying to keep stuff hydrated and watered, it was kind of it was a daunting task.
Through all the health issues that I had, which I'll mention shortly, in that heat was just so overwhelming for me, because I'd be in that heat. It'd be 100, 105 degrees. You're bent over. The blood's rushing to your head. You stand up and you're like, whoa, you got to hang on to somebody. You're going to fall over. It's so incredibly hot. Plus, with the health issues I was dealing with, it just made for a miserable, miserable garden experience. Just horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if you're having skin issues and in the heat. I mean, it's just exacerbated times 100. And
Yep.
Okay, so you planted this garden, and for some crazy reason too, you started a YouTube channel.
Yeah, Bob, I wanted to document all this, what we do here from when we moved in. We tried the Back to Eden garden thing. It just doesn't work for us here. And for those of you that want to do the Back to Eden garden, get your soil prepared first. Till it, amend it with compost and whatever else, minerals, whatever else you want to put in there. Compost is really good. Then layer wood chips down. Then you're ready to garden. But back then, I didn't know anything. We just put wood chips down. Garden, nothing's growing. Why isn't anything growing?
Yeah.
But we get a lot of bugs here. The wood chips attract termites, and it's a mess. It's really, the bugs are just crazy here. They're bad enough as it is without the Back to Eden garden, but with it,
we had our most success and our most fertile garden with really tall raised beds that were hugelkultur. So we dumped a bunch of old pines in there and then dumped a bunch of compost on it, and it was out of control. I mean, when the heat wasn't killing everything, it was just producing off of the charts.
wow,
But thankfully, we don't have to do that anymore. And what's amazing is through this process and homesteading is I got this incredible appreciation for the cow, because, especially with this homestead tsunami, all these people getting into the space, all these people wanting, just like us, just like you, wanting to document it and document it for posterity, for your kids, for the rest of your family. I mean, we moved 2,000 miles away from family. So I'm like, hey, if we do this, they can kind of see what we're doing, and we'll prove to them that we're crazy and all that stuff. And, but, and we were, oh, you can free range chickens and they eat for free. And, and that's healthy and all this stuff. And then, we would do that. And I mean, yeah, if you have 5 chickens, that might work. But when you're a family of 8 and you need 30 to 50 chickens, you're just feeding coyotes, you know?
Yeah. I tried the free ranging thing for about a week, and that's as long as it lasted. The hawks came down, and started killing my chickens. I'm like, no, it's not going to work.
Yeah. So now we have this 100-foot long bulletproof coop that's predator proof. And, you know, I compost in there. And when we mow, we dump all the clippings in there, and it's
Well, that's good.
like
It's a
a
good idea.
sustaining it's and that's what we, you know, and that's part of the process, part of the learning process, and like not knowing anything and watching a bunch of videos and listening to everybody's opinion and then just trying it. And but
No, that's what's nice about YouTube is everybody is putting their experience out there, and that's what's so nice about YouTube is you can watch all these videos, get an idea here, an idea over here, and you put this together and you make it work for you. And you know, years ago we didn't have YouTube or anything, so it was hard. You know, I can imagine what it must have been like in the old days. You know, trial and error, but nowadays we can just go on YouTube and get all this different information and see if it works for you. You know, it's nice. It's nice.
Yeah. And so, you know, we would, you know, everybody talks about meat chickens, you know, and grass-fed meat chickens. And so we started doing that. And when we would grow out these chickens on organic feed, and I'm doing the math, and I'm like, these chickens are costing us about $28 a chicken. And I'm like, when you convert that, I'm like, and then if you're trying to sell it, you're going to have to sell it for like $50 for maybe a 5-pound chicken. And I'm like, wow, cows are incredibly efficient animals. And if we just have some grazable land, and I think, and I understand chicken is absolutely the gateway animal to homesteading. And we still love our chickens. We have a lot of chickens and different things. And we love the farm fresh eggs and different things. But the conversion ratio and the cost per pound for a cow, and the fact that relatively speaking, you can completely ignore them. You can check, you just want to check on their water, and you want to check on them, you know, maybe a couple times a month. You know, we're a little bit more interactive than that, but like if we weren't, nothing would change. And it's so fascinating how these animals were created to produce this nutrient dense food so efficiently and all by themselves, you know, without all this intervention and interaction. It is an absolute superfood, which is what's so amazing at the current backlash of the technocrats, you know, trying to say that the cow farts are killing the planet and all this stuff.
I know, it's ridiculous.
A direct assault on our food supply, you know, and somehow like bugs are going to be a more efficient and effective means of food production. Can
you imagine going back 10, 15 years and somebody telling you this? I mean, it's absurd. It's crazy. Who would? And now people are like, oh yeah. Oh, that sounds like a really good idea.
Yeah, they would literally think you're giving them a bad sci-fi plot, you know, like, no, that movie would never, nobody would watch that movie.
No, to me, raising your own food is always, even the vegetables, was always the best thing. Now that I can't, I mean, I would love to continue on gardening and all that stuff. It's hard work. I would love to do it, but there's a lot of people like myself and my wife that we were vegan. We were plant-based. I hate saying vegan because they make a religion out of it, you know. And if you're a meat eater, then you're a bad person, kind of thing, you know.
Yeah,
we were plant-based, and we thought we were being healthy, but during that time, I started having, and my wife also, but mostly me, all kinds of weird symptoms. I mean, I got a list of them here, but I can't remember them all. I had IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, So going to the bathroom 3, 4, 5 times a day or more. You know, you had to worry about if you had to go somewhere important and stuff, where's the bathroom, you know, just in case.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
That's no way to live, you know. I had heart palpitation, or PVCs, or preventricular contractions. When your heart's beating, and instead of firing each chamber individually, they fire at the same time, and you get that, whoa, what just happened feeling. That used to happen to me every other beat to every 8 to 10 beats. In the beginning, it was terrifying. I was like, should I go to the hospital? And what should I do? But I noticed that after having a bowel movement, after going to the bathroom, they would subside a little bit. So I'm like, okay, there's something going on with my gut. Then I broke out into hives. Then it turned into eczema into psoriasis. Doing tons of research, you know, I was like, okay, probiotics, I got to get my gut back in health. Why did it go bad to begin with? But anyways, yeah, so I started taking all these probiotics, and they helped. But once I get off the probiotics, they'd come back again, all these symptoms. So I'm like, why aren't these good bacteria staying in my gut? So I started getting rashes, all kinds of allergies, especially when I was cutting the grass. Oh, they were so bad when I was cutting the grass, especially when I came here. I have a little zero turn and my tractor with a brush hog in the back. And when I get done cutting grass, my eyes would swell up. I almost couldn't speak. In fact, one year it was so bad, I couldn't even speak. I was like, like that. I ran to the local store here, and I bought some antihistamine. And the lady at the cashier was looking at me, and I'm like, allergies. And so anyways, it would get so bad, and I would get rashes on like my shins and my legs. And all these symptoms were happening to me. Let's see, joint pains too. I was having all kinds of joint pains, my tendons and ligaments. Now, as I mentioned in my previous videos on my channel, I used to bodybuild when I was younger, in my 30s and 40s. And no problem, no joint pains, nothing. And then I quit working out. I thought I went healthy doing this vegan lifestyle. And I tried working back out. I tried working out again, and in 21, and I was getting all these ligaments and tendon pains in my elbows and my shoulders. So I had to stop. And then again in 23 last year, I started working out again, right around the 3-month mark. Now then I was eating a little bit of meat, but mostly vegetables, potatoes, pasta, rice, and all that stuff. And I started getting, again, massive this time, but really bad, to the point where even when I was just not doing nothing, the pain was just there all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, why is this happening? Why am I getting all these symptoms over this was like a period of 10, 15 years of having all these symptoms. Air hunger was another one. Horrible. I was like trying to get air in me, but it was like you're still plugging you're holding your breath. That feeling you get, you want to breathe, and I was breathing, but it wasn't satisfying. These are all deficiencies like B6, B12, all those nutrients that your body needs that I wasn't getting through the plant-based diet. Brain fog is another one. I couldn't even think straight. I was like, what was I going to do? I walk into a room. I'm like, wait a minute, I was going to get something. I don't remember. And it was getting bad. I'm like, am I getting dementia or something? Mm-hmm. And I know I'm getting older, but I'm not that old. And even then, dementia is not an old age thing. It's your diet. Nutrition is what cures that. Or a bad diet will cause that, I should say. But doing all this research, I came across the carnivore diet. I'm like, this is crazy. I mean, just eating meat? I mean, is that possible? I thought you need carbohydrates, because when I used to bodybuild back in the early 90s, what a lot of the guys, when before we go into competition, what they do is about 2 to 3 weeks before competition, before you go on stage, you would go on an all meat diet. You would limit your carbs to maybe 50 grams or less. And that forces your body to use your body fat, and you get real shredded and lean.
Mhm.
And, but now that I've learned about carnivore, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm thinking back. That's what we used to do back, when I used to bodybuild.
Yeah.
Like, no, it makes a lot of sense. But back then we believed that you need carbs. You can't survive without carbs for very long, which is a bunch of baloney.
Mhm.
So anyways, learning about this carnivore thing, I said, you know what, let me try this, because these people are coming out with miraculous recoveries from, joint pains and all the things that I was dealing with. So I said, let's try this. And so I tried it. At first I went more keto type diet. So I ate meat and a little bit of vegetables. And when I say keto, I mean just vegetables. Okay. No processed, nothing,
Mhm.
and no sugars at all. And I did that for a week. And then I went to more ketovore, which is meat based and just a little bit of vegetables. Did that, started feeling better. Started feeling really good. In fact, wasn't into about my first week, going into my second week, I'm like, I stopped and I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling pretty good. I had this sense of like calm coming over me.
Yeah.
When I was vegan, my heart used to pound all the time, boom, 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 and skip beats, of course, but a lot of pounding. And my heart rate was always in the 80s beats per minute. And there were forceful beats all the time. When I go to sleep, I could feel it, my neck going boom, boom, boom. Those are all mineral deficiencies and stuff, I had a cupboard full of supplementations, all kinds of supplements, from minerals to vitamins and B complexes and prostate, supplementation and all that. Magnesium, potassium, zinc, all this, tons of this stuff. And I was eating healthy. So why did I need all this supplementation, right? But anyway, I'm thinking to myself, why am I having all these symptoms? And why am I always feeling like crap all the time? I'm taking all these supplements. I'm supposed to be eating good. I'm telling you, after about a week of eating carnivore, I was like, this is unbelievable. I started feeling calm and relaxed. My wife was dealing with similar symptoms, hormone issues and stuff. We were both moody and emotional and just irritable all the time. That doesn't make a good relationship, I'll tell you right now. When you're moody and irritable with each other, relationships don't go well. So about a week, like I said, a week after this carnivore diet, I had this calming effect coming over my body. And I'm like, this is incredible. Now, I haven't felt this way since my 20s. I'm to tell you the truth. I feel like I'm in my 20s again. Now, obviously, I can't run and jump around and stuff like I did when I was in my 20s, but just the feeling you get, I feel like I'm young again. And that is the best feeling in the world. And I've been on this carnivore thing probably 5 weeks, maybe going on 6 weeks.
That's why I love the story, because I tell everyone, try it for 2 weeks. First off, I've been doing this for over a year. It hasn't killed, all 8 of us. So it hasn't killed any of us. It hasn't negatively affected any of us. All of us, regardless of our age, have all had positive effects and benefits from this. So try it for 2 weeks, because my challenge is that within 2 weeks, you're going to feel so much better, is that it is its own self-correcting mechanism. And so you're not going to want to go back to feeling the way you were feeling. So it's going to reinforce, that discipline to, and now I'm to the state, which, you're 5 weeks in. I don't know if you started noticing this yet, but what kept happening to me is I was like, I started out on, just any kind of meat, right? And we have our own cooney, we have our own grass-fed pigs and stuff. And so we butcher one of them. We have a freezer for them. And I was eating a little bit of everything. And then I told my wife, I said, no, I only want red meat. Like when I eat ruminant meat, I feel the best. And then the next step that happened for me is I was like, and I always liked my meat more rare. Like I didn't like them like well or medium well. I always wanted it like medium rare. Well, now I'm getting to the point where like with my hamburger, like I want it brown barely on the outside, and then I might throw some Swiss cheese or something on the top. But for whatever reason, that is so incredible tasting to me. And, we get all this propaganda and brainwashing and programming, right? And I'm like, yeah, but that'll kill you, E. coli and streptococcus and all these different things, right? And it was a little short that popped up maybe 2 weeks ago that Dr. Chafee did, right? And he said, look, the human body can eat raw meat. And he said, what do you think beef tartare is, right? And I'm like, yeah, I've heard of that, right? So I look it up. And beef tartare is literally raw hamburger with a raw egg yolk. Like the dressing on top is a raw egg yolk. And I'm like, wow, and that is the embodiment of whatever, of all things mainstream. Like, what are the two things that are going to kill us? Like raw eggs and raw beef are going to like spread so much disease. And here I'm craving it and I eat it and I feel tremendous. And it just speaks to like the conditioning. We've been so conditioned and we've been told all these things that are patently false, and how Pete, I mean, and look, you were doing this homesteading stuff and, we were into preparedness. My wife had this gigantic pantry with every kind of powder and every kind of flour and almond flour. And I mean, tens of thousands to 20 to 40,000 of dollars worth of Mylar bags, oxygen absorbers, and all this stuff. Right. And then meat, red meat, like it can't be more simplified and basic. And, it's such a perfect kind of a building block. Hey, start there. And then, if you want to mix it up and try other things and see if it works, go for it. But you can always return to home base and return back to red meat and get that, man, just that feel good feeling where you don't feel like you're gonna die.
I'm the same way. I believe in eating the ruminant animals. Those are your biblically clean animals. Because those animals, like your beef and your lamb, like I mentioned in my video, goat, if you can find it, but those type of animals, they have a complex digestive system. They eat grass. The grass gets super, super fermented. Then they re-chew it, and it gets redigested in their gut again. And not too much can live through that as far as parasites and stuff. Some can, but they don't get the parasites that you would get with pork and stuff like that. Those you have to be careful because those type of, I knew a guy I used to work with. He was Mexican guy. Yeah, I think his name was Jose. He used to eat a lot of pork. And I just first started working there, and I noticed he was like real quiet, never talked to nobody, did very simple work. I was a machinist, by the way, or a tool maker. And just very simple job, very quiet. I go, what's going on with Jose? Why is he so quiet? Oh, he had a stroke. You should have met him before he had a stroke. He used to be really outgoing and always joking around with you, but they found parasites in his brain from eating pork. I guess, that's why with ruminant animals, your biblically clean animals, you can eat those basically rare, safely. As long as they're coming from a good place. You can eat those safely rare, but you can't eat that with pork. Even the government will tell you if you're going to eat it, you better cook it good. But
Yeah.
you know, the people, you do what do what you want to do, eat what you want to eat. But I'm just saying, you're on the safer side to staying with your beef and your lamb and those type of animals. A little safer. You don't have to cook them as much, and enjoy the flavor and the
Yeah.
juiciness of the fat and the just wonderful.
Burgers I'm eating is our beef that we raise. We know our microprocessor, and it is great. And and just hearing the type of results you had in such a short period of time, I really want
blowing me away.
Yeah. I mean, look, this isn't, all of these Weight Watchers and all these different kind of carb counting schemes, and so many people endure this yo-yo deal, right? Where they deprive themselves and then they get to some kind of weight, and all they're achieving is a number on a piece of paper. Like, they don't feel good. Like, they don't they're not.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. I was just saying they're achieving a weight number, but they're not feeling better.
Right. What's beautiful about this diet is I eat until I'm full. I don't have, like you said, I don't have to count calories, and I don't have to do any of that stuff. You eat until you're full, you're satiated, and say, okay, you know what? I feel good. This is not tasting that great anymore. I'm full. And if you have anything left over, just put it away, eat it for your next meal or whatever.
Yeah.
It's so simple. My wife used to spend hours and hours cooking all that. I felt so bad for her. She used to get so stressed out and so upset. And I felt helpless. I mean, what are we going to do? I mean, this is supposed to be healthy, and this is what we're supposed to eat, I thought. But she would spend hours on these stupid recipes. I mean, they were delicious. I mean, she made them good. But all this wasted time cooking and spices and all these different ingredients just to make a meal, and then it's done in like 15 minutes. You're done. Guess who does all the cooking now? I do. Wow. I'm the one grilling all the time. I finally put my grill to use. In fact, I got to clean it up because there's so much fat on the bottom. I'm afraid it's going to catch fire. But I do most of the cooking now, and it's super easy. You either grill it. If you got an Instant Pot, you can use that for like your chuck roast and things like that. Comes out super. You can cut it with a fork. It's so delicious and tender. The air fryers, wonderful. If you want to make a small meal for yourself, whatever, air fryers, toaster oven. You got those few little things, you're all set. You can cook any different way you want. It's super easy, and there's no spices in this and stuff, and it's just wonderful. Wonderful.
You want to know, another thing you always get is like, oh, that must be so expensive, right? Oh, that must be so expensive. And, once you cut out all the healthy snacks and everything, like feed your craving and and we had already we were all super clean and crunchy and gluten-free and dairy-free, and we weren't eating processed sugar. We were eating all the good stuff, and, shopping at the health food store and the stuff that had the healthy wrappers on it. But once we cut all of that out, like, our food bill went down. And so you can afford a higher quality meat. And what's just happened to me in the last, say, 90 days is, originally when I switched, I would eat anywhere from like 2 to 2.5 pounds a day. And I'm down to about a pound. I eat about a pound. I've been on a hamburger kick, like doing the raw hamburgers and with a slice of Swiss. And I eat two very large. I eat 2 half-pounders, and I am good. And I eat once a day. So, dude, I eat.
I had this flashback. Now, remember, I was plant-based for like 10 years, and then vegetarian for like 5 to 7. I say 5 to 7 because I would eat a little fish now and then in those last couple of years. But I had a little flashback when we first went carnivore. I put hamburgers like you did. I cooked them so they're still pink on the inside and a little medium, medium rare. We had some, what cheese was that? Cheddar, sharp cheddar cheese. I just put that on. I said, I want to see if I can spice this up a little bit. And it melted on there. It was delicious. I started cutting into it. I bit into it, and I had a flashback from me and my friend Kevin back in 1980. We used to survive on Burger King cheeseburgers all the time. And I tasted that. I'm like, wow, that brings me back, to back when I was a teenager, and all the memories started flashing. Wow, this is great.
That is funny, man.
Oh, just those flashbacks. It's just, that the taste, that flavor stays in your mind. And then when you finally taste it again, it's like, oh, wow, Yeah, it's delicious, man.
So Pete, this is obviously positively benefited your health. And your wife is having success too.
She was having different symptoms, more hormonal and irritability, moodiness, and all that stuff too. And I'll tell you, we were, a lot of times it wasn't good, put it that way. But now since this change, she started about 2 weeks after me. She's seen the results in me and how fast I lost the weight in my gut. Yeah. And she saw the change in my mood and everything. And I was happy all the time. And I just felt like doing stuff, where before I was like, oh, I dreaded doing anything. But she now also doesn't have these moody issues. Her menstrual cycles and all that are getting much better. All that stuff is just improved. Everything's positive, The only thing that we're dealing with right now is oxalate dumping. Yeah. And for those of you that don't know, I would suggest getting the book by Sally Norton. It's called Toxic Superfoods. These foods are making us sick. And they contain these oxalates, which are crystals. And they just wreak havoc in the body. They just embed themselves everywhere in the joints, ligaments, and tendons. In fact, I was just listening to this one doctor, and he says it's corrosive to the GI tract. It causes kidney stones, deposits into the arteries and other tissues, nerves and brain damage, depletes the glutathione storages, impacts the connective tissue, which is where all my pains were coming from, my ligaments and stuff. And depletes B6 and biotin, among other things that it does. These oxalates are in our vegetables. Some have low oxalates, some are very high, like spinach, almonds, beet greens. There's a tons of sweet potatoes. I used to love sweet potatoes. Some fruits are pretty high in oxalates, like figs. But accumulation of this stuff. In fact, he said in this video, in fact, the doctor's name is Dr. Jin Sung, is his YouTube channel, and oxalates are the cause of chronic disease. So if you got all these issues that I mentioned on here that I had, and it's constant and it's chronic, it's all the time, and you're going from doctor to doctor and he can't figure out what's going on, most likely they're oxalates. Yeah, it was doing it. Cut back on that stuff. Try the carnivore diet, people. Try it for a couple of weeks, and you'll feel so much better. If you want to start adding vegetables back in, go with the low oxalate ones. Yeah, and try that for a while and see how that works. We'll do more of a keto or ketovore type diet. You will feel like $1 million. Amazing. Even my wife, we were just talking about this. Every day we're like, I can't believe how good we feel. This is incredible.
That's great. And speaking of oxalate dumping, I don't know if you can barely.
Yeah, I can see that.
But I had never had eczema, and about 6 months into carnivore, I had developed a really big ring of eczema on my elbow, and I'm like, that's so weird. And you can never see it anywhere, So I'm like, right. Wow, that's so weird. I'd never had eczema. Well, just last week, I'm like, it started to hurt. And I'm like, man, that's even weirder. Like, I've never had eczema and it's never hurt. Well, it started to hurt. And I think I kind of bumped it on something. And now the pain started going away and it started to shrink. So I think that's exactly what that is. I just think I always had tennis elbow in that elbow, and I think it's just the oxalates dumping out of the joint, and it's
What
just out through the skin.
what I learned from that Sally Norton is drinking. I don't know if you can see this here, but this is lemon water. She
Yeah.
said the citric acid in the lemon uh, dissolves those oxalate crystals. It dissolves them smaller to where your body can get rid of them easier. And I've been drinking like 3, 4, 5 glasses of, put about that much lemon juice on the bottom of your cup and just fill it with water. It makes your water taste great, and it dissolves those oxalates. So mine, I was getting all these red bumps on my upper chest. My neck was always itching and stuff. I'd get some in my inner thigh also, and the sides here. They subsided almost. I hardly get any right now, and I think it's like contributed to the lemon water. So that's something you can do.
Speaking of lemon water, so this happened to us twice last week because my wife made this like incredible carnivore taco soup. So it was like grilled chicken, and we eat very little chicken, but it was like grilled chicken and then like a couple different cheese. It was very good. But she was like, "Hey, I need some lemon juice for this recipe." So I ran to the store and real lemon juice, right? And I'm like, wait a minute, these are on the shelf. So somehow these are shelf stable. So I'm like looking at this 100% real lemon juice, and the new preservatives in this stuff is unbelievable. Like there's like 4 crazy types of like metal phthalate or something. And so I bought it because I'm like, well, I know she wants it. I really don't want her to put it in there. I bring it home, and she was like, and I was like, babe, I don't really want you to put this in there. She was like, no. She was like, we just need the kind of the bitter. So we'll put some vinegar. So I pulled out this old bottle of vinegar out of the cabinet, and it was probably like, I don't know, Walmart brand or something. And I look at it and I'm like, there's 6 different preservatives in this thing. Like, so even these like, foods that are better for you or healthy in their normal natural state, we have purposely toxified and polluted these things in the state of for the sake of making them shelf stable for 100 years or whatever. And it's like you really have to be conscious of everything that you're consuming because it's all toxic.
We all see this, and I don't want to make fun of these people. It's sad. I feel sorry for these people. But every time we go shopping, you see this all the time. These people just dragging their feet. They're overweight. They get bags under their eyes, and they're just dragging their feet. A lot of these guys are younger than me, way overweight, or driving that little electric cart around, and their baskets are full of prepackaged, box processed food. In fact, we were at Sam's Club just the other day, and I was looking at the meat, and yeah, I know meat's expensive. I get that. And he was looking at me and stuff. And I'm like, look at this. Even on sale, they're expensive. And he looks at me and he was trying to focus in my eyes, and his face was bloated, like just ready to burst. And he was trying to focus in on me. And then he started telling me that, it's $40 for 2 of these steaks or whatever. Later, I seen his cart. He had like 8 loaves of American white bread in his cart, and just all this pre-boxed junk. It wasn't even real food. And I'm like, people, wake up. This is what's killing you.
Yeah.
If you don't eat the way food is intended, like as grown, if you're eating vegetables or the meat itself from the animal, you're going to get sick. I'm sorry. I don't care how good it tastes. You're going to get sick if you don't eat the way God designed it to be. Just eat meat. And if you're going to eat vegetables, just eat the vegetables. Don't eat the pre-processed junk that you don't even know what's in there.
Yeah. And everything is so highly processed, even something benign. Like this is what's so insane about the intentional, self-destruction of our supply system and the food system. Vinegar I'm telling my kids, you know, because everything's a lesson. And I'm like, here's the thing about vinegar. Vinegar was designed, the processes for preservation, right? So the fact that you ferment this and turn it sour on purpose so that it'll stay in this container. And then what man has done is dumped a bunch of chemicals better living through science in there so that it'll last forever, and it will now no longer have any nutritional benefit to it at all. It was just so amazing to me that they're they're purposely toxifying stuff that's totally shelf stable, and they're the only natural conclusion that I can draw is that they're doing it on purpose to make us sick.
This is the way I see it. Now, take it for whatever it's worth, but this is the way I believe it is. Back in the 70s, I was just a young kid in the early 70s. I never saw fat people. I see chunky people here and there, but you never see people just couldn't walk and they're just obese and stuff. You never see that. I believe that the pharmaceuticals companies and the sugar companies and all these big companies were feeding us all these. They're telling us that meat was bad, fat is bad, butter is bad. So they had us do margarine, and then we find out margarine clogs your arteries. And then they told us that meat and fat cause cholesterol to rise, and then you get clogged arteries, which is a bunch of baloney. All the research now shows that that doesn't happen. But I believe that they caused everybody to eat more carbs, raising their blood sugar levels, raising their insulin levels. That wreaks havoc on your body. High sugar glucose and high insulin levels destroys the lining of your arteries. Yeah. When your lining of your arteries are damaged, the cholesterol patches it up and sticks to it. That's how you get clogged arteries. If you would just avoid the high carb diets and the sugars, you would never get clogged arteries.
Yeah.
But I believe that back in the 70s it started. They told us that all these things are bad, so people shifted and eat more carbs. Yeah, they were eating vegetables, but they were eating more cereals and grains and breads and pastas. And then they come out with all these new treats you can have, healthy treats, these chips and things. Constantly, your blood sugar is going up and down, up all day long, and eventually it just wreaks havoc. I have a friend of mine that I know. He's diabetic, type 2. Had one leg, the lower part of his leg amputated. The other leg is like a balloon. It's just all swelled up. He has no feelings in his legs at all. And I told him for years and years, I've been telling him, dude, you got to start eating good. You got to avoid all this junk food you're eating. Until this day, he still drinks all these different types of sweet sodas, cans piled up everywhere. I'm like, dude, you're going to die. Yeah. He doesn't care. Now, for those type of people, I'm sorry, but there's not much you can do for them.
No, and it just speaks to the way that they've chemically compounded our food. It is like more addictive than crack, because you watch these people, they have this self-inflicted type 2 diabetes. That's like killing your brain. It's killing your heart. It's killing your extremities. It's killing your arteries. And you know it. And you can't stop. You can't stop because this food is. I have a really good friend of mine that I work with. I used to work with, and he's had 4 or 5 heart stints. You know what I mean? He's had heart attacks. And he's had all these blockages. And he started watching my carnivore videos. And he's like, "Oh yeah, can you do that?" And I really love vegetables. And I always like, you don't love that. Nobody loves vegetables. All right. Just be honest. And and so he started to do it, but they're just so addicted to the sugar rush and this manufactured. They're so addicted to the manufactured food and, the coffee shop. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to get my Starbucks with my 6 shots of mocha and
your $10 Starbucks.
Yeah, but I can't eat a prime rib because it's expensive. Dude,
Exactly.
you drank $20 worth of coffee today, and you could have ate a prime rib.
Yep. Yep. People don't get it. Speaking of expensive, obviously after I was plant-based and vegetarian, we started eating meat. And I started looking at these meat prices. I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, I remember steak prices being $7-something for a steak. And now we're like, it's crazy. $40 for like 2 or 3 steaks. So now I'm buying more of the bigger stuff. And what I plan on buying is a chuck roll. So you can cut up all your rib eyes and your chuck roast and all different types of steaks out of that. You save a lot of money. I think you spend like under $5 a pound on a chuck roll.
Yeah. But
anyway, looking at all these prices and stuff, you have to start remembering now you don't have to buy anything else. You just buy meat. You don't have to buy the vegetables and the fruits and the rice and the beans and whatever, none of that. So we would go to Sam's Club or whatever, buy all our meat, and it would be like $2.80, and we'd have the bottom portion of our cart full of meat. And that'll last us quite a while. That really would last us quite a while. And we used to go, when we were plant-based, we used to go to Costco too occasionally when we were in that area, because it's too far away. But anyways, we used to spend way more than that. Oh man, we used to spend $300-$400 or more on groceries and stuff, buying things like that. But now it's just meat,
Yeah, it's just meat. And like, I had all the supplements, man. And every time a new supplement came out and a new study, and I would try this, to help me sleep. One of my big things was sleep. I mean,
I agree.
I didn't sleep, and so I had take all these great supplements, and I mean, I was easily buying a couple $100 a month worth of supplements.
For sure.
And so now I don't take any supplements. I mean, our food bill, and then, where we're raising our own, like, even if we have to source a cow after processing, now it's super primo. We're probably, if we have to source a cow after processing, we're still at like $5-something a pound, but it is like an elite quality. And, we just fill the freezers. We're talking today. We're going to fill another freezer. We're going to take a cow and just get it all ground into ground beef. And we're just going to do a full freezer ground beef. And it's so flexible. We've been tracking it. So we're a family of 8. I don't even think we're eating more than 5 or 6 pounds a day. And, I got some big old boys that can put away food. Yeah. But as your body becomes more accustomed and efficient to it, like I said, my consumption dropped from like 2 to 2.25 pounds to a pound. And my health and wellness hasn't diminished at all. If anything, now a new thing that I'm experimenting with is fasting a couple days a week. So 2 weeks ago, I did Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Last week, I did Monday, Tuesday. And man, by that second or third day, I feel really great. So yeah,
your head clears up. Everything is just beautiful.
Yeah.
You have to give your digestive system time to rest and your body to start healing. Your body really does all the healing when you're fasting. So your digestive tract is resting. Your body's now can focus solely on healing your body, and your mind and everything gets very clear. We do a fast maybe a week. So like we'll eat 2 meals a day. And then usually on the weekend, like Saturday, we'll skip. We'll eat dinner Friday night, and then Saturday we'll skip lunch, and then we'll eat dinner again on Saturday. So we'll just do a 24-hour period like that, dinner to dinner, which is the easiest way to do it if you want to do like a 1-day fast, because you're only skipping 1 meal. But yeah, you need to fast once in a while. It's even biblical to give our body rest and healing, just to be healthy.
But it was just a natural state and way when before we had, grocery stores on every corner and just this ease of access. Another thing about this super processed food is this was to design to hide hyperinflation, because like look at the price of meat, right? And what you remember what it used to be per pound when you could get like a killer steak for $7, and now they're 40.
Yeah.
Well, you know, uh, we had this volume. Oh, well, we'll fake everybody out with volume. You know what I mean? So here's a bag of chips, and the actual nutritional value of that bag is negative,
Nothing.
like less than nothing. And you go into the grocery store, right? And 98% of that grocery store are exclusively these items, these bulk, super processed, whipped seed oils. Well, I mean, one of the absolutely biggest things, y'all, is seed oils. They are absolutely toxic, completely destructive. They're an anti-nutrient. They're corrosive. They were designed by the military industrial complex to like lubricate tanks for the war machine.
Yep.
Okay. And I reached out to Paul Saladino. I want to have him to come on the podcast to talk about seed oils. So stick around if anybody knows Paul and you want to just reach out to him. Another really cool update, Kerry Mann from Homestead How. He's kind of like our gateway to carnivore. That's who my wife first started watching. That he's going to be on the podcast next week. So if y'all are watching, stick around for that. Like, share, subscribe, go over. We're on all your podcatchers. So, and if you feel so led, leave us a 5-star review. It helps. Pete, as we're wrapping up, where can folks find you and follow you?
Well, I mean, I got my YouTube channel. It's Pete B. East Texas Homesteading. I am on Facebook also. I think there I'm Pete B. Homesteading. But yeah, you can find me there.
Yeah, and I'll link Pete down below in the show notes so you can check him out. And, keep tracking Pete. Like, Pete had some instant success here. He had, in a very short period of time. And, hey, nobody can guarantee anything, but I can promise you something. If you
will feel better,
just give it 2 weeks, y'all, anybody can do anything for 2 weeks, and you owe it to yourself to break the sugar cycle. I mean, you'll feel better just by breaking the sugar cycle in your life, but try it for 2 weeks. And if you're real about it and you don't psychologically fake yourself out and pretend to do it and smother your steak with, barbecue sauce or whatever, you're going to feel better. Right. And it's going to motivate you to stick with it. You can keep following us here and watch our success. You can follow Pete over at his channel. He's going to keep keeping it real. Pete keeps it real. I love it. And, we try to keep it real. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on, Pete. Thanks for sharing.
Oh, great, man. I love it. Thank you.
And all right, y'all. Well, if you do love and appreciate the information that we provide, go on over to thetexasboys.com. This is a value for value proposition. We are reworking the website so that we can do all kind of payments and whatnot. We're fumbling through that. And also, y'all, I wanted to remind y'all, July 6th, we are having our in real life meetup for the month of July. That's going to be at Bob Wells Nursery at Sorella Farms in Mineola from 10 to 2. And if you want to hang out after that, we're going to be going to Texas Burger Co. and getting some grass-fed goodness there. So if you want to eat a burger, and that's a very high quality, good burger, come hang out with us then. Bob Wells is offering 10% off to anybody that comes to the meetup if you're looking for any kind of fruit trees or any of that kind of stuff. But we love and appreciate y'all. Thanks, Pete, for coming on. And remember, y'all, stay fearless, my friends.
Mm-hmm.